Ben Roethlisberger back in Pittsburgh. He had another year left on his deal, but they reworked his deal. They basically threw out the old one, and he's given back, I think, $5 million of real cash, and he's reworking all of the salary cap so that Pittsburgh has more money to maneuver with. But the whole relationship here and how this played out is
it's
pretty
incredible,
interesting.
Brian.
Yeah, pretty interesting. Like basically, the owner said, "You're coming back," and told the GM, "You figure it out."
But don't you think there would have been the conversation completely the opposite? Saying, like, how confident, you know football as well as anyone, Brian. How confident are you that this is going to work out for Ben?
I'm not.
So how do they not go to him and say, look, man, I know you want to come back for whatever reason we don't know, but it's just not in the best interest of our football team. I think they have a lot of good pieces in Pittsburgh, and if they just made some kind of change and brought in more of a dynamic kind of modern quarterback, who knows? Maybe things go a little bit different. He down the stretch, they started out, I believe, 11-0.
Yeah, they were.
And down the stretch, he just couldn't move out there. I'm shocked that they caved to this pressure. I don't know where the pressure came from, but it's like I thought they would say, thanks for everything, man. We're going to let you go on your way.
Wouldn't you like to see, by the way, because the first thing I thought of, too, was I was going back years with Roberto Luongo and saying, remember, I'm in Vancouver and my contract sucks and you can't move it and all that kind of stuff. Like, would you like to see the NHL allow something like that where you can rework a contract for a player? Or do you like that it's locked
I would
in?
love that idea, but the players will never allow for it because it'll be such
They're like,
a slippery
I signed
slope.
it. I'm you're honoring it, and which is fair. It's like,
yeah,
it is fair. And I guess, you know what, Andy, that could work based on a player of this stature who has made so much money that is willing to give a little bit back so that you can spread the wealth and develop around him. Like that, from this standpoint, like the way it works with Ben, it feels like to me he had guaranteed money anyway. He said he was coming back, so you're going to cut him. Like no one's trading for Roethlisberger. So if you cut him, you got the dead money anyway, and maybe you don't have a succession plan. So they're kicking the can down the road one more year. They'll draft the quarterback this year, or they know they'll save money and find one. This is it for Roethlisberger. Like this will be the swan song. There were no fans in the stands last year. There will be this year. He'll get his going away present. That'll be it. And to your point, they've got enough around him with the other 52 guys on the roster. They're going to win ball games and a really good coach.
Mm-hmm.
But, yes, Andy, I would love that option, but it would have to only be with, like, specific players because, like, we just mentioned Louis Erickson. They would love Louis Erickson to rework his deal. He's never going to do that. He's done. He sucks. He knows he's not getting any more money. But if you could go to Sid, you know, who's not making that much money relatively speaking, but I'll bet you Sid would be willing to give up $3 million a year on his deal to add another piece or two to improve his odds of
what do
winning
you mean
another cup.
give up? He's just not getting it, or is he getting it later? Or
well,
no, you'd rework a deal. Like
deal.
what about Carey Price? Like in the spotlight. And of course, these are just all hypotheticals. But you're talking about a goalie making over $10 million. Obviously, they're putting their faith behind him. But I'm just saying, hypothetically,
if you
that's
went
a
up to
contract
Carey
you can't
Price,
move.
Andy, he would say the same thing about the criticism from the fans or whatever. And he said, "I really don't think about it, and I don't care." Because he signed the contract onto the contract. I think it's a fantastic idea in a fantasy world. At the end of the day, it's just not happening.
It's never going to
happen.
I just
think of Luongo. Like I just think of a player, and I guess maybe I'm coming from it from the viewpoint that the player is the one who enacts it or gets it going, right? Because I go back to Luongo, who he knew.
Yeah, but
you
got to think of the guy that makes
$20
an hour. I mean, think about the guy that makes $20 an hour here, and a guy that makes $7 million an hour says his contract sucks. Like, come on, man. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, we know what he meant was you can't move me or it's unmovable at this point. The thing is also you got to remember in the NFL, if you don't decide to rework it, they can just cut you.
Yeah, it's a complete. Yeah, it's different.
There's got to be that angle, right? If you're going to apply it to the NHL or the NBA, there's also got to be some sort of an out because it's almost like a leverage play. Like I'm sure that was the conversation in Pitt. Like we'd prefer not to cut you. We will if we have to. Are you willing to rework this and we'll bring you back at a lighter cost, lighter money, more cap room for us so we can build around you? And I would think that probably applied here.
What I wouldn't mind seeing, Brian, with reworking whatever, and this is a dangerous thing because the GMs are their own worst enemy with their brutal signings. I just hate the fact of Louis Erickson sitting around Vancouver and handcuffing their organization. Like, just find a way once a year or one per team a year where it's like, you can just pay a guy out and make him disappear.
That's on the league. That's on the players.
Like, just give them one a year where it's like they don't have to have a guy like Louis Erickson.
I'm with you.
You could hand him a check and say, just get lost, man.
Every day of the week, I'm with you, especially because of the market we're in and the team.
It's just better for the league. It's better for the league.
But here's where Gary Bettman would say it's not, because then there would be pressure in Arizona to do it every year, and that owner's like, I'm not paying a guy not to play. There'd be pressure in Ottawa. Melnick, you got to buy this guy out. Get rid of him. He'd be like, I'm not paying that guy $6 million not to play for me. And Bettman always comes back to the owner that loses money or the small market when it comes to a
if you're
going to
have that approach, I don't think that's fair to the rest of the league. And I've said that from the beginning on a number of different issues. If you make a mistake, you got to give somebody a one-off on.
You should. There should be
way
more flexibility with the cap.
Sure, let Louis Erickson go back to Sweden and play hockey. Nobody wants him in Vancouver. It's a miserable situation. Let them out of that. Let him cut a check and just say, go away, bud.